Welcome. I'm Faith Durand, editor-in-chief of The Kitchn, and you are here on night 5 of Kitchn's Thanksgiving Food Fest. We're going to end on a classic note, but new classic, with Yasmin Fahr, who is just a much-loved recipe developer and cookbook author. Her latest book, Keeping It Simple, is one that I think is also very indicative of what you're going to get tonight from Yasmin. She's a wonderfully imaginative cook, but one who always keeps practicality central to her recipes. We have had all these amazing takes on Thanksgiving this week. I know for myself, when I look forward to the Thanksgiving meal, I'm often looking forward to these sort of very classic Norman Rockwell painting style dishes, like, that mound of mashed potatoes with a lake of butter inside. And I love the way that Yasmin enters that picture and takes these dishes that many of us remember and have a lot of memories of and modernizes them through her sense of flavor and her sense of influence. It's a beautiful menu, and it's one that I can hardly wait to share with you. If you have any questions as Yasmin's cooking through her new classic menu, you're in luck. She's right here in the chat, ready and waiting to answer your questions, talk back with you about your own Thanksgiving. She would love to hear from you. A huge thank you to all of our Thanksgiving Food Fest partners: Anthro Living, Holland House, Idaho Potatoes, and Ninja Foodie Smart Lid. And now Jesse Shefchek, one of our editors at Kitchn, is going to tell us everything we need to know about the how and why of brining turkey to make it more flavorful and juicy in partnership with Holland House.
Our Kitchn audience is always curious about turkey brining around this time of the year. What exactly is brining? How do you do it? Is it worth it? So let's just start with the basics. Brining uses the power of salt to infuse both flavor and moisture into meat. You can brine any type of meat, and today we're doing turkey. All you need for the most basic wet brine is salt and a liquid. And without getting too nerdy on you, what you're going to do is submerge a piece of meat, so in this case a turkey, into that salty solution, and what actually happens is the salt begins to equalize. So what you're left with is a turkey that is infused with extra moisture and extra flavor. So you can do a really simple brine that's made with just water and salt, but you can also add some additional ingredients that are going to add a lot more flavor to your brine. So instead of using just water, you can use white cooking wine. Today, I'm using Holland House white cooking wine because it has this really nice complex flavor that actually carries through into the turkey even after it's done cooking. Mix in garlic, onion, pepper, herbs, or whatever flavorings you want to the liquid. This is going to infuse the turkey deep inside with even more flavor, so there is no dry, bland turkey this year. So now let's talk about how to make a brine. You're going to need water, salt, and any of those aromatics you decided to infuse their flavor with. So today I'm using 1 quart of water, 6 ounces of kosher salt. I'm using my herbs, and for vegetables I'm doing onion and garlic. And you want to bring that all together, bring it up to a simmer, just so the salt dissolves and the flavors kind of meld together, and then we're going to cool that off. Now we need a large container lined with a brining bag so it can hold our brining turkey. So a pot works great here, but I'm actually using a crisper drawer for my fridge because it is the perfect size for this turkey. And brining bags are great because they are food safe and they make cleanup super easy. So the first step is just put your turkey in, breast side down, giblets removed, cleaned. Pour in the brine mixture, then add 1 bottle of Holland House white cooking wine. Adding this wine is going to add depth and complexity and a touch of acid to this brine. Then we're going to add 5 quarts of cold water so your turkey is mostly submerged. Squeeze out any air bubbles in the bag, then seal it up. Now put the turkey in the refrigerator for 12 to 24 hours and let the brine do its thing. At the halfway point, you'll just want to reach in and flip your turkey over. After 12 to 24 hours, simply remove your turkey from the brine, pat it dry, and you are ready to roast. You don't have to take any special steps or change your cooking time, just roast as usual. And in the end, all of the brine prep is 100% worth the effort. Your turkey is juicy and more flavorful thanks to all those wonderful aromatics and white cooking wine infused into it.
Hi, I'm Yasmin Fahr. I'm a recipe developer and cookbook author, and I'll be cooking along with you here, but I'll also be in the live chat, so please ask me any questions that you have. And thank you for joining me for the Kitchen's Thanksgiving Food Fest. For my updated classics menu, we're doing a spatchcocked turkey with a miso-butter rub, a make-ahead cranberry sauce with some figs and the orange juice. We're doing smashed crispy potatoes, which are delicious. We're doing Brussels sprouts with bacon, and what I call it a shortcut pie with apples and pears. So I think a traditional menu provides like a sense of normalcy and consistency and makes you feel a little more stable, a little safer, and a little secure. So I think right now, like whatever we can find that provides those feelings for us is really what we should kind of cherish and go after. So I think my love for cooking started when I was a kid. My dad is a huge cook, and we always had family dinners together. They were the kind of family that always tries to like plan what we're gonna eat for dinner, what we're gonna eat the next day, and so whenever I come home to visit, my parents will make like all of my favorite dishes, and it's really their way of like showing love. So that's probably why food is so important to me, because so many of my favorite memories were around the dinner table and just such a big part of our family bonding. Thanksgivings were always really fun. We did it with like our extended family, like my dad's brothers, then they moved away, and then family friends. So it was really like a big day about eating and drinking, but also just being, obviously I didn't drink as a kid, but like as I became an adult. But it was really about just relaxing and enjoying the day and not working and being quiet, just kind of taking a day off, which I think is really important. So that was sort of our goal of Thanksgiving. It's like enjoy it with each other. So for these recipes, I definitely want you to make them your own. If you feel comfortable in the kitchen and you know what you like and if you see something you want to add, like please do that. Like add different herbs to the potatoes, leave out the bacon. So really make these your own, which I highly recommend as well. So every classic Thanksgiving has to have a turkey, even an updated one, which this is that. So this is a method I learned from Jonathan Waxman of Barbuto and Judy Rogers of Zuni Cafe, and it's how I cook my chicken. So I spatchcock them, which is removing the backbone and then flattening it, and then I salt it about a day ahead or up to 3 days ahead, and that helps draw the moisture out of the skin so you get really crispy, delicious brown skin. And you want to make sure you clear like a shelf in your fridge, because you're going to have to put either a sheet pan or like a roasting pan like this in there, and you could cover it loosely with plastic or leave it uncovered, which actually is a little bit better if it doesn't weird you out, because it'll help dry out the skin even faster. Okay, so we're gonna cut along the backbone, which is here, and I like using kitchen shears, like really sharp ones, which I think is a bit safer than a knife, but it does require a bit more muscle work. So sometimes it isn't always super glamorous, but we'll get there in the end. Okay, so we cut along one side, which you can see, and then hopefully I can get under this one. So, ta-da, here's the backbone. You can, use it for stock today or on Thanksgiving, or put it in your freezer and use it for another day. It will make a really delicious stock, so it's better not to waste it. Okay, so now we are going to flip over our turkey. And the thing with spatchcocking is you want to like press down on the breastbone to flatten it, which I find actually is a little hard on a turkey, and I've had to put it on my kitchen floor and kind of stand over it and put my whole weight on it. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it now. I think I'm too short. Okay, this is definitely not how I saw the day going, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so I'm gonna push down on it and hopefully, oh, there we go, sorry. Oh, okay. If you don't want to get on the floor and do it, it's okay if it doesn't flatten completely, because it'll still work. Oh my God. All right, we did it. We did it. So you want to pat down the turkey too, which also helps with the dry skin, and especially if it was like anywhere near the floor, which just happened with us. So this is something that you want to do at least 24 hours. Like once you've thawed your turkey, you want to spatchcock it, season it, and then we're also going to put some rosemary under the breast skin. It just adds a bit more flavor, but you could also do whole sprigs as well. So then we are going to put it in the fridge for about 24 hours. So by spatchcocking the turkey, you really reduce the cooking time, so it cooks more evenly, quicker, and it'll be ready in about an hour, whereas like larger turkeys or turkeys that aren't spatchcocked will take 2 to 3 hours or even longer. And I mean, you kind of look at it like a big chicken, you know? I don't name my turkeys, but I mean, I see you're probably seeing, I do kind of talk to my turkeys, and I'm like, thank you, good job, and like, I don't know why, but it makes me feel like I'm kind of like a bonding moment with them. And I guess at the end of the day, like it did, you know, give us its life so we could enjoy it, so good thing to be thankful for. Sorry, that was a fun hit. So we are starting with the crispy smashed potatoes. I'm just gonna smash the garlic right now. Come on, there we go. So it's usually an easy way to peel it. So these crispy smashed potatoes are a little bit crispy and crunchy, but they're also a little bit creamy because of the way that we boil them and then use either your hand or something else to smash them down. And that way you get that contrast of like creamy bits and crispy bits. And so it's, I think, kind of like a perfect potato, if you will, because you get a little bit of everything. So you're not just getting the crunchy parts, but you're getting kind of like mashed potato-y parts too. So we've been boiling these potatoes until they're tender and like easily pierced with a fork. And then I'm gonna drain them, let them cool for about 10 minutes, and then we get to smash them. So we're just gonna season the potatoes with salt, olive oil, and you really wanna use a lot of olive oil, probably more than you feel comfortable with, just because that helps it get really crispy. Some red pepper flakes, that might have been a lot. And then the smashed garlic. And then kind of toss that all together. And it's okay if everything kind of breaks apart and gets a little mushy, as that'll just add, you know, a little more character. When I was thinking about this menu, I know I have the updated classics, but I wanted to make dishes that felt true to me or ones that I would really enjoy. And so I think anyone can do that at home as well. Like, I think the idea of a holiday that's based on traditions is really about making it something that feels right for you and your family, or just something you want to do every year. So we're gonna add this to the oven. And then because everything is cooked at the same temperature, you can also add the Brussels sprouts with bacon at the same time to save yourself a little bit of time. These Brussels sprouts are gonna go in the oven at 450, and they're gonna be like super crispy, crunchy, and the key to doing that is to coat them in lots of oil and put them face down on the sheet pan so they really get contact with the pan and crisp up. And if you don't want to use the bacon, you don't have to do it, but once it's in the oven, that's probably the time that you would cook the bacon and let it drain, and then you crumble in it at the very end. I also would not use parchment paper. You want to stick with the sheet pan, which I know can be a little annoying to clean up, but I promise you it's worth it because they'll get super crispy and delicious. I really love vegetables, and it does make me sad if people think they're kind of an afterthought. But I think with these ones, they're so flavorful and delicious that they really will be like part of the center spread. So it won't just be the turkey. It's because you have all these different textures and flavors and like a little bit salty, like a tiny bit spicy. You really can like make them work for the entire meal. And I also wanted the meal to be flexible. So the potatoes have been in the oven for about 25 to 35 minutes, so they're super crispy, and so I'm gonna take them out now. Look at this beautiful crispy potato. All right, I'm gonna try it first. All right, so good. It's like crispy and crunchy, a little creamy in the middle, just like a hint of garlic. Yeah, it feels like very comforting and cozy. I definitely could eat a giant plate full of these. I might. So there are so many potato recipes out there. I want to hear what your favorite is. Please drop it in the chat. So first we're going to take our miso and then add it to the room temperature butter, add the lime zest, and then we're just going to mash it together, which is probably better on a stable surface. I'm adding some onions to the pan, which you don't have to do if you don't want to. I just think they get really soft and caramelized and like soak up whatever the turkey gives off. So I'm just dropping a little bit of olive oil all over, and then we're gonna take the miso butter and we're gonna put a little bit under the breast cavity just so it stays moist and doesn't dry out, and then you kind of press it down like that and move it around if it's hard. harder to do underneath. You really can't be shy or uncomfortable handling, poultry, but this rub would also be great on chicken. Even vegetables would be really nice, like if you did it on like squash or sweet potato would be really delicious. So I love roasting like whole heads of garlic, and you can just really cut them in half, add a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, and just put them face down, and they become like so soft and like caramelized, and you can mix them into butter to make like your own compound butter, put them onto bread because they'll be easily spreadable. It's just such like rich, delicious flavor that really makes anything better. But if you're not a garlic person, like, don't worry about it, you can totally skip that step. But you might as well just try because it's not that. So you're gonna put it in the oven at 450 for about 55 to 65 minutes, and the wingtips, if you see them burning or anything burning at any point, I would cover the wingtips with foil, and then you can also reduce the heat after about 30 minutes or earlier if things start to darken too quickly. So this is the cranberry sauce. It's changed up a little bit with some dried figs, orange juice, maple syrup. I don't love cranberry sauce. I feel like I eat it out of like habit, and I'm like, why am I putting this on my plate? So I really wanted to make a cranberry sauce that I'd be like, ooh, give me that cranberry sauce. Yeah, and so I love when I see people reach for it. I'm like, yeah, good job, eat the cranberry sauce. Cranberry sauce is definitely like a traditional part of the Thanksgiving meal, and I think one of the things that makes Thanksgiving so special is that every family and every table has their own tradition. So it might be, cooking the turkey a certain way, having like green beans, or having them made a certain way. I always think of the like Friends episode where like Monica tried to cook Thanksgiving and everyone wanted like the potatoes one way and that way, and she's making like 5 kinds of potatoes. But I think that also speaks to like how important the holiday is, because it really reminds you of family and tradition and growing up, and probably holds like a lot of great memories for people. And I think with this recipe, if you try it at the end and you want it a little thicker, like keep cooking it. If you want it a little sweeter, maybe put a little more maple syrup or a little more orange juice, and just do a little bit at a time and kind of taste it that way. So this dish is called adas palo. It's a Persian dish of lentils, rice with raisins and dates, so it's sweet. And then there's the tahdig on top, which is like the crispy part. So it's something my mom actually serves every Thanksgiving. So she started serving it as like a stuffing. So she would make it, scoop out some, put it in the turkey, and then cook the rest like this. So when it came out, it was like soaked in the turkey juices. So it's kind of not a traditional American stuffing, but kind of our like Persian-American stuffing, if you will. And I think one of the most beautiful things about food, or why I really love it, is that it really brings back so many memories. So I can remember eating this as a kid, or during Thanksgiving, or not Thanksgiving. So I think, incorporating one of those dishes into your tradition is a really great way to keep people's memories alive, or just a memory of your childhood, or a way to start new memories for people. I think like most traditional dishes there's so many different ways to make it, so I'm sure every family has like their own version of this, where this is our version. It's a lovely thing food is, So right now we are just cutting the apples into like chunks, and we're just gonna put it into the pot. So we're making the filling of the pie. And then we're doing apples and pears, and it's just gonna cook down. We're gonna add some lemon, ginger, sugar, and a little bit of water. I don't love pie, which is really, I know, a weird thing to say, but I love the inside of pie. And when I was a kid, we always used to go to Chili's, and there would be this like apple, cinnamon, I feel like came on the side of like the baby back ribs or something, and I was like obsessed with it. I would just like eat that mostly, and it was like super soft and silky and like cinnamony. And it wasn't like quite as soft as theirs, but I would say that's like my inspiration from my childhood days. This pie is like really easy. We're not using like a traditional pie crust. We're doing phyllo dough, which I know can seem sort of like intimidating to work with, but it's actually not once you know a few tricks, which we'll talk through when we do that. But it's really easy, it's lighter, I think, and you still get that like crunchy topping and like the texture, which I know people really want with a pie, but it's really quick and simple and delicious. So now we're gonna add the sugar, room temperature water, lemon juice, ginger, and cinnamon into the pan with the apples and pears. And we're gonna cook it down so it's nice and tender. And then I'm just gonna turn it on to medium high. This is a really strong burner, so I'll do a little lower. Okay. And then we're just gonna cover it until we see some liquid bubbling, which will which won't be too long. Right now we have a damp kitchen towel over the phyllo. And so phyllo is really easy to work with, but you want to keep it damp or it dries out and it'll crack. So I'm just going to drizzle with some olive oil and then just brush it all over. I really like phyllo dough because it's really light. It's like made mostly with like flour and water, I think. And for me, I wanted to make something that like kind of highlights the filling and won't take away from it. So you'll get the like crunchy exterior, like golden like top, which is really beautiful, but you're really gonna taste the apples and the pears more so than the crust. So I also find this process like very therapeutic. It's just very calming to kind of go through this repetitive motion, and it also feels like I'm painting even though I'm not. I actually really love cooking alone. I find I get really distracted when people are around me and I can't really focus. I kind of like forget things, or I don't enjoy the process as much, which is sort of interesting, even though it is such a communal thing, like the sharing of food and eating of food. But I find the process of cooking really calming. Just, again, a way for me to kind of slow down and not think about anything else. Especially when I'm working with something like this that's like kind of delicate, but it's also really fun just to work with. And also you shouldn't worry about the overhanging sides. We're gonna like brush those with butter or ghee later, so you can leave them as they are. I just added the oats, and that's really to soak up like any extra liquid, and that'll stop the bottom of the pie from becoming too soggy. So we're gonna brush about half of this butter on the inside of the pie, just to make sure it doesn't get dried out. And also it adds a lot of flavor. So now we're just gonna spoon in the ricotta on the bottom. And this just adds like a little bit of creaminess to the overall dish. Now we're gonna put the inside of the apples and pears inside the pie. Oh, so pretty, and it smells really good. We're just gonna brush some more oil on the remaining sheets. That's gonna cover the top of our pie. Then I'm gonna scrunch in these pieces. That's what it's gonna give it kind of like a rustic and homemade look. And then brush everything with the remaining butter. So I'm just gonna put in the oven at 375 for about 20 to 25 minutes. Doesn't this all look amazing? I really hope you enjoy it, and I can't wait to hear what you think. Thank you again for joining us for the Kitchen's Thanksgiving Food Fest. So I think one of the things with tradition, especially in the past year and a half that we've had, it's providing a sense of like consistency and stability, and while things may be unreliable and a lot is unknown, knowing that we have these dishes and memories as kind of a rock for us, providing that security and making us feel safe. I feel like those are the things that we should really go after and cherish during this time.
That was magical. Yasmin brings so much flavor, but also all of this practical doability to the way she cooks and her recipes and her menu. I hope you loved it as much as I did. I loved every one of the chefs this week. They brought me such a new sense of inspiration for the Thanksgiving I'm going to cook in just a couple of weeks. So thank you for being here. And of course, we could not have done it without our partners, Anthro Living, Holland House, Idaho Potatoes, and Ninja Foodie Smart Lid. We're so grateful for you. Please join us right after this at our final after party at the Kitchn on Instagram. We must see you there. And thank you so much again, and goodbye.